You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report Indiana Wesleyan Men's NAIA Tournament Preview with Kevin Helfrich.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Kevin Helfrich of the Action Sports Network joins me to talk some Indiana Wesleyan Wildcats. A lot of talk about with this team, Kevin, and this program, obviously, that's one of the best in the country. But I guess I'll start with this. They go into this tournament a little bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, and it's a unique position for them. You know, they're a perennial power in the NAIA. It's been an interesting year to say the least, and one of the more difficult roads to march for the Wildcats as they found their way to make their 18th appearance in the national tournament. This will be, and they've made 17 straight now. But this was looking kind of bleak here, especially late in the season. They really had to win 6 of their final 7 games just to earn a spot into this postseason tournament. They come in as the 5th seed of the Durer bracket. And what's also interesting is they actually are going to host the first and second round, which I don't think anybody quite saw coming. So that's,
Yeah.
some schools were able to bid for that. And Indiana Wesleyan put in a bid for that. And for the second straight year, at least, they will be hosting the first and second round. So that's a big advantage to them because they are 13-1 at home this season.
And great news for Indiana Wesleyan fans.
It really is. I'm sure there'll be lots of fans. The good news is their students are back too from spring break. So I expect a terrific crowd out there in the Lucky Arena come Friday afternoon when they tip off at 3 o'clock. And, the interesting thing about this squad is that they actually finished in 5th place in the Crossroads League, which is the lowest they've ever finished in
Right.
Greg Tomagel's 20 seasons at Indiana Wesleyan. It was a real struggle from the start of conference play. They dropped their first 3 games in the league and found themselves at the bottom of the barrel, which hadn't happened before he took over the program. So they had to kind of work their way back up towards that middle of the pack. At least there was no way they were going to get to the top, but they were able to get better. I think as the year went on, there were highs and lows without a doubt. You lose probably your best player off of last year's squad, Javon Buchanan, who transferred out to Boise State Division I. So you can't blame a guy for taking his talents to the highest level possible, and he proved to be that good where he earned his Sixth Man of the Year award in that Mountain West Conference that was just named this week. So congratulations to him, just an outstanding player who did a lot of great things in his 2 years at Indiana Wesleyan. So, not only do they lose him, but you get a 7-3 transfer in from Division I Stony Brook, who's not able to play this year due to some injuries. And it's just been the injury bug that's been bothering Indiana Wesleyan throughout the season. So that was Rocco Muratori, who had that injury. And then you look at Luke Brown. He had to miss 10 games this year, who was coming off a season where he missed an entire season with knee injuries. And, he battled through a little bit of mid-season injury. And then a point guard, DJ Moore, who was also a D1 transfer a couple years ago, has also missed all the games since the end of January. So it's been a really hard struggle for the Wildcats, but they have fought their way to postseason play. And this team is really playing their best basketball, though, as they've entered into March. And, they've won several games. They dropped a tough one to Grace in the Crossroads League semifinal round where they had a 14-point lead in the first half, but just couldn't hold on. And Grace came back and got the victory. They kind of had the Wildcats number here over the last few years. And but the Wildcats are poised to play well. I expect them to play well this opening weekend at home. I don't know that this team is built to win the national title this year. I just don't know that they have all the pieces that they have typically had to be one of those kind of favorites heading into this round of play.
Well, let's first talk about. Let me go over the schedule real fast. As Kevin said, this will be played at Lucky Arena in Marion. Friday at 1 o'clock, it'll be Life Georgia against Johnson, Tennessee. Life is 25-6 in their first NAIA tournament appearance ever. Johnson is 20-10. The following game will be Indiana Wesleyan 21-9 against Madonna 19-11. And you talked about the injuries and the slow start in the conference. Part of that, though, Kevin, is that the Crossroads was really good this year.
Boy, it really was. And you start at the top with Grace, who's kind of owned the conference here of recent years. And then, you had several teams in the state of Indiana, which a lot of the conference is made up from teams of Indiana. But, Bethel is much improved as well. And Grace and Bethel really battled it out for those top few spots. And then Huntington was right there as well. They finished third. Spring Arbor, who won a national title not too many years ago, finishes fourth. And then Indiana Wesleyan finds himself slotted at fifth. And then St. Francis in Fort Wayne is starting to get back to, a level that they've been accustomed to. They finished sixth, and they also earned it. So 6 teams out of this conference are going to be represented in this postseason tournament. That's the second most of any conference that is going to be in the NAIA national tournament.
And that's a really good 5th and 6th place team.
Yeah, they would probably be 1 and 2 in a lot of conferences across the land in NAIA. So, this is a night in and night out. You really have to bring your A game or you're not going to come out victorious. There's just so much talent in this league, and it's proven with guys that have went on to play Division I basketball from this conference. And then there's guys that have come from the D1 level to come in and play at schools in the Crossroads League. So it is really, really good basketball. And the good thing about it is they're fundamentally sound. They're athletic. They play for the right reasons. It's basketball at its purest form, I believe.
And they're probably significant favorite against Madonna, I would think. A team they've already beaten this season. The championship game is at 3 o'clock on Saturday, and it would look like to me that Life, Georgia, 3-time national champion, 19 national appearances, would be a huge favorite over Johnson, Tennessee, which, like I said, is making their first ever trip to the national tournament. Would Life be the favorite to get out of this, probably?
Yeah, even though Indiana Wesleyan is on their home floor, you would have to think that Life would come in and have a chance, definitely a good chance to advance in this. But, Indiana Wesleyan's awful tough to beat at home. So, I'm sure Life's feeling like they've got a little bit of a tough draw here. They're the higher seed at 4. They're going to have to come in and likely have to beat the host Wildcats, who, are also perennial national powers. But Life has won, like you said, 3 national titles themselves. They came in 1997, 99, and 2000. So this is a program that knows how to win as well. They got the automatic bid. They won their conference tournament, and they finished second in the regular season. And they're led by a 6'6" junior guard, Chaz Harris. He scores, and there's 4 guys on that team that score in double digits. The one thing about this tournament, it's going to be a high-scoring affair. All these teams average in the upper 80s. The defenses allow close to 78 or more points. So you're going to see a lot of points being put up at that board here, I do believe, when it comes to basketball here in Marion this weekend.
And I just mentioned that Indiana Wesleyan beat Madonna earlier in the season. That was 113-75, so they beat them by 38 points. Cademan Bontrager, who I want to talk about him a little bit as well. But any chance of, I can imagine if you beat a team by 38 points that you might not be at your most intense the second time around. Any fear of that?
Yeah, I would think you can't let that settle in. But, the one good thing, too, is, as you mentioned, the Wildcats played that game actually without Luke Brown, and they still won by 38 points. And obviously he's a key cog to the Wildcat offense, and with that ability to shoot from about when he crosses half court to his penetration. And, he can hurt teams in so many different ways, and that just makes the other guys around him that much better, too. Bontrager, then becomes more of a post presence down low, and you got senior Griffin Kluwer, who's been a 4-year contributor to this program and has really increased his scoring average every year. He averages 17 points a game and 6 rebounds and
he's had
almost 4 assists.
He's had a really good offensive year, but, man, he's kind of that glue guy who does a little bit of everything.
He really is. Yeah, he can do it all. Yeah, he distributes the basketball. He rebounds well. And like I said, he can score it as well. He can knock down 3-point shots. So that Wildcat offense is something that, is always really good. They've got guys who can score. And the good thing about them, they don't take bad shots. You watch them play, they shoot close to 50% as a team from the floor, which is just execution is at a premium when they have the basketball. And, that's one thing I don't think they'll have to worry about in the tournament. My one concern is can they get enough stops against the really good teams to, advance deep into this tournament and really contend potentially for, a spot in that Sweet 16 going to Kansas City. If they can get these 2 games this weekend, they'd be making a trip to downtown Kansas City in the historic Municipal Auditorium, which is always a special thing and a good place to play basketball.
One player we didn't mention was freshman Isaac Andrews, one of the great Wapahani Raiders of all time. Man, especially when Brown was out, played really well, but he's had a really nice freshman year.
Boy, has he ever. I mean, he's second on the team with 63 three-pointers
Yeah.
made. He shoots it at an extraordinary clip at 45.1%, and he's really a consistent threat from behind that 3-point line. And, he's had to, play more minutes than maybe some might have expected this year, and he's performed really, really well. I'm not sure, anybody probably expected him to contribute as much this early. We all know he was a great high school basketball player, but anytime you jump up even to this level, I mean, it's just a completely different game than the high school game. And you're playing against guys who are usually bigger than you and stronger than you and have been around for a while. So he has definitely had a great year.
Apparently, the kids in Selma, Indiana, come out of the womb shooting 45% from 3-point range. It seems
Yeah,
like
right. Their whole team this year is shooting, I think, around 50% or better. So that's just they know how to coach that shot for sure.
apparently, yeah, seems like every single one of them. And like I said, Isaac is one of the all-time greats, if not the best, at least of this century, great Wapahani players.
Yeah, he really is. And, I continue to think he'll just continue to get better, especially under
Yes.
the coaching they have at Indiana Wesleyan. This game, Greg Tonnell could actually earn his 550th victory,
Oh,
which he was the youngest coach to get to 500, and now he's positioned himself to get to his 550th already if they can win on Friday afternoon.
already a Hall of Famer, Greg Tonigal looking to add to his legacy and the program's legacy. He would be more likely to say to the program's legacy we know, but what a
Right.
great coach, and Indiana Wesleyan has been lucky to have him.
And not only him, and he would even tell you how fortunate he's been to have assistant coach Jeff Clark with him many of his years. I think Clark's been there all but maybe 1 or 2 seasons with Coach Tonigal, and he could have very well left the program at various times. I know he does a lot of the offensive game planning and coaching of that side of the ball, and he's another outstanding guy. Indiana Wesleyan has just been very blessed to have these 2 men lead this program and just really turn out not only great basketball players, but great individuals who go on to do great things in their communities and in their workplace. And just, the program is what they say they are. The I am third approach. They put others before themselves, and God ultimately first and themselves last. So, it's they live it out. They don't just talk about it, but it's something that they put into their everyday lives, without a doubt.
Thank you to Kevin Helfrich for coming on the Central Indiana Sports Report once again and talking about Indiana Wesleyan basketball. We will have our women's NAIA tournament preview for Indiana Wesleyan on Friday morning. And thank you for listening. If you're interested in seeing the Central Indiana Sports Report continue to grow and thrive, please share it with your friends. Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to you by TG Media, and I love Susie.